Hey, this is DJ in the Butt coming to you from sunny California. The weather is hot, and so is my pee. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, I just found that new noise, and it felt very morning radio.
It's like 70s morning radio.
Yeah, like it sounds like it'd
70s
be in.
LA, like the Nice Guys. Russell Crowe's in his
Yeah.
car in the beginning of the Nice Guys. That's the guy that's on the radio or something.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Has there been a Grand Theft Auto from that era? Because I know
There
Vice
was
City
Vice
was the 80s,
City, which was
shit.
the 80s and like Miami-ish,
Bro.
I think, and it was rad.
Hey, do you want me to blow your mind right now? Do you know if Vice City was to come out right now using
God.
the yeah. If
I
Vice
hate
City,
these.
I hate them too. But when you know one, you have to share it with someone so they can hate it too. If Vice City came out today using the same time gap, it would be about the year 2008.
Yeah,
that's
why I graduated
crazy.
college.
Yeah, right.
The first time,
like
yeah.
I was like just starting to feature, and like Vice City was such, like when it came out, it was like, God damn, this was a long time ago. And I think about that shit all the time in terms of like, I think that we talked about this on WellRED or something, how like the classics, like classic rock, they've just established what the classics are and they're not changing the decade, you know?
Yes.
But like when I was a kid and I was listening to some of the Aerosmith shit, like it was only 10 years old, but it was already being played on classic rock like 10 years later. Right. And they're like, this is classic. And now I feel like we require something to be way older before it's a classic. Like I start hearing people talk about like The Dark Knight as a classic movie. And I'm like,
also 2008.
Yeah. And I want to be like, what the fuck, y'all are crazy. But when I was like in my late teens, I guess I considered Tombstone a classic, and it came out in 93. So it's the same thing, you know?
Right. Speaking of old music and classics and back then and stuff, there was something I wanted to ask y'all. Drew ain't here, by the way. Drew dead. He said he'll be here in a minute.
He picked the time, by the way.
We started, and he presumably will show up at some point. But I was going to ask y'all, but since it's just you here, I'll just ask you. The song "California Dreamin'."
Yeah. Oh, here's Drew.
Where?
So okay, save your question. You talking about by the Beach Boys?
No, it's by the Mamas and the Papas.
Mamas and the Papas. That's right.
So the song "California Dreamin'." Where are y'all at on that song?
I love that song.
What does that do to you? That song?
Cinematic. That song's very cinematic. Every time I hear that song, I don't just think, oh, this is a good song. I like almost have the whole encyclopedia of knowledge of the 60s and 70s that I have. Like it all goes through my mind when I hear that song. I think about drugs. I think about murder. I think about the Manson murders. I think about corruption. And I think it's just because it's been used in like so many movies to set up shit like that, you know?
Okay. Drew, what do you think when you hear that song?
I mean, I like that song a lot. That's an interesting take from Santa Giles. Have we addressed that?
No.
Not yet, no.
Okay. Man, I want to respond to Corey. I guess my first answer to you, Trae, is I really like that song, and I just think about Brian Wilson.
So, Brian, he is the Beach Boys.
Is that song not by the Beach Boys?
No, it's by the Mamas and the Papas.
Yeah. See, I think me and Drew
also thought it was by the Beach Boys. Yeah. Is there a different song also called? I'm talking about
it's
definitely
definitely the Mamas and Papas,
and
dude.
The sky is good.
It's just they all came out of that that valley, and they kind of had that sound.
Panga Canyon.
But none of them. But
Laurel.
It ain't at all creepy to either.
Yes, it's creepy. Yeah,
ever since I was a kid, the very first time I heard that song, I feel like I found it haunting and eerie and creepy. And it's not
did I not convey that by what I said?
I said sad. I would go haunting and dreary. What'd you say?
Eerie, haunting, creepy, but
it never
lyrically and everything, it's not it ain't anything like that.
It's because they use
It
minors.
never crept me out. I just want to say that for the record. I never felt creeped. I just was like, oh, this is really dark and sad.
Yeah, but it's like, but the lyrics are about how California hits.
It's sort of the
I guess the lyrics
opposite.
are about like they're in a place that don't hit, wishing they were in a place that does hit, which is California. But
it's sort of like the opposite of Semi-Charm Kind of Life.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Here's one. The first time I did ketamine, I thought of that song.
Okay.
So that's a reverse for you. It's like a dreamy. Maybe I was a little sad, which is why I was doing ketamine.
Yeah.
I can't speak on the literal first time I heard that song because who the fuck knows when it was. I was probably insanely young, but like what I was trying to get across is like every time I hear that song, I think of the horrible things in Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like that's what I always think of. And maybe it's because that song, and I could be wrong, I'm not like a musical genius or anything, but maybe the reason that even though the lyrics are one way, it puts you in that place is that they're using a lot of minor notes and shit.
Says apparently it was recorded in D minor but mastered at a slower speed so that the record is in C flat minor. There's probably a bit of sonic weirdness that comes out of the slight slowing it down, like the half speed orchestra in Strawberry Fields Forever, that type of thing. That's some Redditor's take.
Oh, I usually get all my sources from there. So
I can't wait for that to be at the forefront of Google.
Yeah.
Already is, but
I mean, it already kind of is. I Googled, well, if you Google anything opinion, but like I Googled, is California Dreaming creepy? One of the top results is from the subreddit R Music. Why is California Dreaming such an eerie song? And then there's, people responded to it. There's some people saying, I never found it eerie. And a lot of people been like, the suspensions on the V chord in a minor key. It's a dramatic sound to begin with. So, yeah. The harmonizing of the voices, the way they do that.
On such a winter's day, also, I mean, that puts you in the mind of like, as Drew said, the whole song, the lyrics may be beautiful, but it's like, it's someone talking about a thing that they aren't experiencing that they wish that they were. So it's melancholy,
Yeah, right. All the leaves are brown, the sky is gray. Yeah, I mean, it ain't like that stuff hits, but
I think it does.
Well, I guess it depends on your, if you're depressed.
Because I like when it rains. No, I'm just saying I like when it rains. I love the rain.
Right. I never liked it really until I walked through it with you, Cho.
Oh.
But I did, yeah. So yeah, let's talk about the situation on Cho's face right now. If y'all are only listening, you're missing out truly because he has bleached his beard.
Well, I didn't do shit.
Okay.
We were at a.
What do you mean you didn't like that? Just happened to you?
Well, you said I bleached it. You said I bleached it. Like I didn't do it.
Okay, you made the decision to have it bleached, right? Well, that's clearly what that means.
Yeah. Well, I was just letting everybody know that I didn't get the dye out. Well, words.
That was definitely important to the story.
Well, words matter. So
okay.
Yesterday we were at.
I'll be right back. I apologize. I'm having a childcare issue.
That's okay. Right. We were at was yesterday Memorial Day? Yeah, it was. We were at a Memorial Day party, and my friend, she's a hair lady, and I feel like anytime there is a party in the South, if there is a hair lady there, some hair shit is going to get done. You know what I mean? Like people always take advantage of that situation. They're like, oh shit, the hair lady's here. We're all here drinking. Why don't we do our hair? So she was like highlighting everybody's hair and stuff, which really hit for me because I don't know. Well, yeah, I know exactly where you're at on trashy women. They hit.
They do,
But like when you take already kind of trashy women and you put a little bit of tinfoil in their hair and they've got a bathing suit on and they're all a little burnt, nothing is hotter to me. Like nothing on, or like it was, and I was drunk. There was all these trashy women getting their hair done. And then my friend, she had done this to me before because for a very Raven reason, I had an audition to play Hulk Hogan one time, which is like insane that I would ever like anyone would be like, yeah, maybe you, who knows? And I decided to go full out for it. And she's like, hey, let me fucking dye your beard. And
Okay, I'm sorry. Was this like you remember that Bob Dylan movie where in one of the stories he was played by a woman, and then another story he was played by a small black child, and then in another one he was played like some artsy thing where they were like, we're going to have a whole bunch of different types of Hulks, like totally different than in any way what he actually is or looks like. We're going to do that. It's an artistic choice. Go out, see if Corey wants to do it. Was it like that or just like regular Hulk? Because if it was regular Hulk, that's wild. I mean, look, I auditioned for like a Pacific Islander bodyguard once just because I got asked to do it for some idiotic reason. And I walked in there and it was just me and $15 store Dwayne The Rock Johnson's. And I was the only white guy. And everyone looked at me like an idiot, which I was. So, I mean, I hear you. But yeah, that's wild.
Ironically, you just said Dwayne The Rock Johnson. It was actually for Young Rock. And here's the funny thing is that, like, as soon as I got the audition, I was like, well, this is stupid. Like, no. And I just happened to be texting Conrad and I was like, haha, I just got asked to audition for Hulk Hogan in Young Rock. And I said, yeah, right. LOL. And he goes, have you watched the show? And I was like, no. And he goes, go watch the show. So I go and watch the show and I start see who they have casted to play some of these dudes and how fucking way off they were, like in size and in like everything. And I was like, oh, well, hell, honestly, who fucking knows? So I went full out and dyed my shit. So anyways, same girl was like, let me just dye your beard. I'm drunk. You want to do it? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so she did this and she's going to hit it with the platinum later this week. So it's going to be like completely white, I guess, or whatever. So, we're just having fun.
If it did the completely white, I know that Hulk Hogan had like a platinum Fu Manchu over a black
beard. Yeah.
A black beard, but a platinum mustache that went all the way down. And that was one thing. But like, if it's like white, I mean, you'll look a little Santa-y.
Leave that hits for me.
You want to look like Santa?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing is that I don't care what I look like.
That's
you know what I mean?
enough,
like because it'll go, look, like I could either shave it, which I won't do, or like it'll grow back, and like Amber was like, or my mom came over yesterday for a reason I'm damn sure not talking about, but my mom came over and she was like, Jesus Christ, Corey, what the fuck are you thinking? And I was like, how will this affect anything? And she's like, yeah, I guess you're right. And I was like, right. Like I could dye it fucking pink. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So we're just having fun. And when we were talking yesterday and y'all mentioned the Santa, it got me thinking of doing like a young Santa character or like Santa's son. You know what I mean? And maybe play him like kind of Don Jr.-y or something. I don't know. It could be fun, but like either way.
You look younger than Santa, but you look older than you are because, and maybe it's the on screen.
It looks super
but it
redneck.
Almost looks gray now.
Well, this is like when a redneck has like normal blonde hair, but they like are in the lake a lot. This is the color that they get. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people who are in the lake a lot have that like dirt tan too.
Yeah, I need to get a tan is what I need to do for this to really pop.
And then I'll really be able to judge.
Well, he'll do that. I mean,
for sure I'll do that.
Yeah, he's done that before.
That is either gonna look great or totally insane, and I'm so here for both of those.
And again, the thing about it is like, cool, who cares?
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like go ahead.
Let me own up to I put some Auburn in mine.
Nice.
Because I'm filming a thing and I wanted to make sure it worked and like I got used to it. First time I did it looked great. Couldn't really tell unless you knew me very well. And it was very natural. And I got like one of the nicer dyes, like read about the reviews and all that, right? And it was one of those where it just like covered up some of the gray. Then the second time I did it, I don't know what I did different. But your boy just had like it looked like I've been eating out a squid and it inked all over me. And I had to I didn't have to, but I did because it just felt weird. You know what I mean? It's just like two dark spots right here. I just like washed it like 30 times that night and got it sort of just back to square one. So I'm not knocking the notion that we all got our midlife crisis issues.
Yeah.
But from here right now, it looks gray, which is in and of itself funny.
For sure.
related to this whole topic, you just reminded me of something that happened this past weekend. I was in Buffalo. I landed in Buffalo, and I had a situation.
Boy, were your arms tired?
Indeed. I
landed in Buffalo, and boy, did I get blood on me.
I had one of the venues was not like how sometimes at certain venues that are not like comedy clubs, there's like
little black box.
You're not for sure what the situation's going to be in the green room, right? And I like to have me a couple vodka sodas or vodka cranberries for it. And I was thinking about that. So I was like, I'm going to run by a liquor store because I don't want to take no chances. Get there and find out they don't have what I like, because that does happen. So I just Google mapped my hotel from the airport and found a liquor store on the way. It was near the airport, and it was in like clearly the black part of Buffalo, or one of the black parts of Buffalo. I realized when I got to, like, I was the only white person around. This liquor store was like, the whole thing was behind bar, like the register and everything, and all the liquor was behind bars. You had to like order it from the guy, and you had to go and get it back. There was a line of 8 or 9 people. This is like right after work let out, all black, and me. Literally no one said anything or seemed to care at all. And
if no one knew you, by the way, the lead up to this would sound real bad.
But the guy, I'm wondering, because then a weird thing happened, but it had nothing to do with the black people or the black neighborhood. The people running it were,
Indian.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, yes. People running it were Indian.
Yeah.
And I stood in line, waited my turn. I got up there, and I asked for a bottle of vodka. He went to get it, bring it back. He looks at me and he goes, and I ain't going to do the accent or nothing, but he was like, "How old are you, man?" And I was like, "What?"
Hold on. Let everybody have a chance to do it in their head.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, how old are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm 38." And he was like, "Oh, wow. I thought maybe you were younger or something." And I was like, "No, I got 2 kids in middle school, buddy." And he was like, "All right." And then he like gave it to me, and that was it. But he didn't make me show him my ID or nothing. And it's like, what do y'all think that was?
Only a young, stupid person would come into this all black neighborhood.
I could not help but wonder. I could not help but wonder if it was something like that. And I just want to know if I was crazy or not. Because it's like, other than that, it's just him being like, "Hey, you look nice, man."
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, this dude is just like,
are you new around here?
You're good. Yeah, right. You're young. Like, he was a gay guy hitting on me, which I don't think it was. Or it was something like what Corey just said, right? I mean, am I crazy? Is that
no?
A lot of states have a rule. I don't know if this is true in New York. A lot of states have a rule. You have to card anyone who looks younger than 30. And he might have looked at you and thought, 32 maybe, 29 maybe.
You want me to just say
it? Like, "Hey, dude," just like, let me see how he reacts to this question.
Right.
That's the only other explanation I got.
Yeah.
Look, I'll be the one that says it. I'll fall on it, okay? If this guy is used to only black people, he's lost his ability to know how old anybody is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He just you just can't never tell. And I know that's racist and a stereotype, but it's a positive one.
See, he followed it up. He then followed it up with like, I thought you were younger. I met the guy that opened for me last weekend, Pakistani guy, very funny. Shout out Modasham Yaqub, funny dude in New York. But he told me, apropos of nothing, that he thought I was like 30. When I mentioned I had kids that were that age, he was like, "Damn, how old were you when?" And then I told him, and he was like, "I thought you were like 30 or something like that."
That's weird.
So,
I think when you say the kids thing, like,
I've been getting that lately, is what I'm saying. I feel old and fat and gross, but I've been like randomly told recently by multiple people that I look
gray
young.
hair. You got California sun skin.
Yeah. You wear black all the time.
You're rich, so you have less stress. I feel like those things that also, aren't you skinny now?
Not skinny. Yeah, I'm on the way back up.
But okay, but there's a thing that happens when you're on the way back up, but you're not yet fat.
Trust me.
Where you're plumping through. When my mom gains weight,
looks like baby fat.
Like, your mom looks 45. And when she gets skinny, everyone's like,
you
"Oh
see
my
the
God,
wrinkles.
your mom aged." Like,
yeah.
I mean, dude, you look good. Like, can you not just accept that?
I think that you look.
I think accept that you look good.
I think you look good, and I do think too when you like, it should make sense to me, especially because I've known both of your kids since they were born. but you still, it's wild to me when I hear you say, I've got 2 kids in middle school. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
because
wild
like
to me.
most people that I know that got 2 kids in middle school look older than you, look way shittier than you.
Oh, that's the other thing. Katie
and they
does
are
all the kid stuff. I'm kidding. That's
All right.
yeah. No, dude, I think you look good.
Let me tell you another
you been
thing.
chemical pilling you?
Huh? Chemical peeling? Have I been
Ain't that a
taking
thing?
pills?
Peeling.
Oh, chemical peeling.
Man,
I haven't been doing either, but either would hit. You know,
what a matrix glitch that was.
take some chemical
What'd you
pills
say?
for sure.
Pills?
Yeah.
Dude,
But
those chemical peels, like the weird thing about those is
Katie
like
has done those. Are you talking about the ones that like go on your feet and then your
For 2
feet skin comes off and shit?
I honestly don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I just was generally asking, is Katie doing a white lady thing to your skin?
I know
Not
what they
mine.
are.
She does
but
it to
no,
her own.
if
Yes.
Trae had done like a real chemical peel, we see him too much not to have noticed, because I feel like with those things for the first couple days after, you look insane because like your face looks red and it literally looks like you have like molted.
Let me tell you
like
another thing.
Santa Claus?
I did this weekend that I think will hit for y'all. Like the venue I'm talking about, which is actually in Pittsburgh. It's like a theater at a library, right? So I didn't know what the situation was going to be. And I get there, and the little guy, he was like a 20-something-year-old. The library is, I think, owned by Carnegie Mellon University. So I don't know if this kid was a college student or what. He looked like 20-something. And he was, very nice, but also kind of mousy or whatever, and like quiet. And he was like showing me around.
Does mousy have, when you say mousy, because when I hear it said about a woman, I feel like it's always they have a rounded nose and ears that poke out a little bit.
I don't mean he looks like a mouse. I just mean he was sort of like small and quiet and nebbishy sort of, or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
But again, very nice. I don't mean it's just mostly, I mean, he was quiet and smaller, and he like showed me around, and then he was like, I was like, okay, one last thing. Where's the bathroom? He's like, yep, right there. And I was like, okay, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. And I turned around and I walked into my dressing room, and I walked straight up to the refrigerator that was in there and opened it like this, right? Like in a mood, like I open the door and I lean in and I'm looking at it. 4 different types of beer, 4 different types of IPAs. There's like a peach IPA, an extra pale IPA, and then 2 others. And they're all IPAs. And y'all know those don't hit for us, never have. We used to explicitly have it in the rider to not do that, but I think maybe that got lost along the way. But anyway, I look in there and I go, I see that they're all IPAs, and I did something like, God, fuck, or something like that. And then I like leaned back, and when I leaned back and closed the door, he's standing right there beside it, still, like literally like right there. Like I like jumped, and he was like, is there a problem? He was like, because it didn't say. I thought IPAs are popular. I thought, and then of course I did the whole thing. I was like, oh no, I love them. It's fine, but don't.
You know what's also popular?
I'm easy. It's fine.
Not having options. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's real popular.
There were options, Corey.
I would.
All right.
I would never be like, no, send somebody out to fix this. Of course
not.
I would never do that. But I got like caught red-handed thinking something didn't hit clearly, and then I had to act like I didn't think that. And I thought it was pretty Raven.
You know what pisses me off?
Raven, especially because it's so you to not be like, oh, yeah, I understand why you'd think that. Can I just get some wine?
You know what pisses me off?
I brought some of my vodka in with me because of my aforementioned thing. So I had that, so I didn't really care.
Sorry, I got slated that those were the same. That's my bad.
We may have lamented this before, but on the note of IPA's popularity, what has really pissed me off is that beer companies have apparently been like, hey, IPAs are so popular, let's turn our other beers into IPAs. Like, you get like
Hops hide mistakes.
Yeah, right. That's true. But like, there'll be like a lager or a pilsner, and you're like, oh, thank God, not the IPA. And it's like, it tastes just like a fucking IPA.
It's all hops. Also, American hops are stronger, but we don't adjust our recipes in conjunction. All right, this is a total side note, but what about a character named Albino?
Yeah, that would hit.
Oh, for Corey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought it would hit anyways. I didn't know you were talking about me.
Or like the rapper, Brother Ali.
Slim Jim Shady?
Brother Salami.
Brother Ali, of course. Brother Salami. Is Brother Ali albino?
Yeah.
Okay. Fred Wurst?
Uh, yeah. If he was albino, like, would the whole joke just be making fun of albino people? Because it's about time somebody gave it to him. You know,
I
they've had it
agree.
coming for a long time.
I agree. You don't really see
I've had
that.
it
Like,
You could
too
make
long.
fun of special interest groups through the lens of like pretending like albino people had a voice.
yeah. Well, let's stay
Like,
here
come
for a
on
minute.
down. Like, no one wants to acknowledge, my rights as a transparent American.
Hey, let's stay here for a minute. So is it that people don't make fun of albino people, or they're just so few albino people that it rarely gets brought up? Because I've never heard any woke
Albino people, I assume, get destroyed in 7th grade, dog.
For sure.
Yeah. But I mean, okay, no. I know that everyone gets destroyed in fucking 7th grade. I'm just saying, like, as chronically online as I can be, I've never seen any article on
I doubt there's much systemic oppression of albinos, other than obviously the fact that they're super sensitive to light.
In this country, at least.
Right.
I have heard, I do know, look, just reporting the news here.
Australia?
No. In certain parts of Africa, albino kids are, thrown off cliffs or fed to crocodiles or whatever because
that feels like a thing somebody
they think they're
saw
demons
once in 1974.
Because they think they're demons, yeah.
You know what
I mean? Yeah, maybe. I mean, let's look it up just to be fair, because I've just read that before.
But acknowledging my racism in this thing I'm about to say, I could see certain religions being like, "Well, this is the devil."
Right.
This is literally
albinos. Let's see here. An albino child. It says albinos are especially persecuted in Shinyanga and Mwanza, where witch doctors have promoted a belief in the potential magical and superstitious properties of albinos' body parts.
I nailed it.
You did.
Let's see here. Yeah.
It's never fun to be right. Everyone acts like it is, but if you're going to be right, you're saying something horrible.
Every time I've been
I thought
right.
You said it wasn't. I thought you said it probably wasn't a thing.
But then
he said it was religious.
And then I said I could see it being a religious thing right after that.
Yeah. Right.
But
yeah.
I want to know the date. Like, they still be doing that?
I mean, in 2015, the country of Tanzania enacted tougher laws against violence against albinos. So,
okay, but
and Malawi has seen a steep upsurge.
I mean, I know what you're saying. They're passing. I think I have a delay. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Yo, I'm so sorry. I got to take a shit. I'll be right back. Like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, bro.
Okay. It says
you think
Malawi
he
has
out those like Christmas tree cakes.
Yeah, it's funny that he's doing a whole Christmas thing in May. It ain't even June yet, but I guess he's just
I'm saying that I hear you on the law, but the law's being changed. What my only point was, like, it feels like a thing of the past that we're acting like still going on. I mean, and maybe it is, but if they're enacting laws in 2004, hopefully 20 years later, my albino brothers and sisters can live.
Yeah. So, okay. It says that persecution of people with albinism is based on the belief that certain body parts of albinistic people can transmit magical powers. Some such superstition is present, especially in some parts of the African Great Lakes region. It has been promulgated and exploited by witch doctors and others. The African Great Lakes region, and witch doctors and others who use such body parts as ingredients in rituals, concoctions, and potions, with the claim that their magic will bring prosperity to the user. So it's actually, I feel like it's even worse than what I remembered.
Yeah, you think they're chopping them up?
As a result, people with albinism have been persecuted, killed, and dismembered. Also, the graves of albinos dug up and desecrated.
I don't like desecrating graves, but if you're comparing the two,
it's better than the other thing. Yeah, for sure. It says it mostly takes place in sub-Saharan African communities. But down here, though, numbers says a report was released in 2014 by the Tanzania Office of a charity called Under the Same Sun, report entitled Reported Attacks of Persons with Albinism. And the document reviews 180 countries and lists 129 recent killings and 181 other attacks, all of which were within 23 African countries. So, you know, I mean, that's like 300, which don't hit, but, you know, it's not like
in one country.
No, in 23 countries, across 23 countries, 300
Okay,
people.
but how many albinos were there?
Way more than you'd think, apparently. I saw that on here, too. Where did that go? In the country of Zambia, there are about 25,000 people with albinism, and that's just in one country, and from a census conducted in 2010. So
it's not a milkshake duck, but that was definitely like a, well, hey, do you think they get hate? And then 2 seconds later, they get dismembered for the way that they look.
Right. But
Earth.
I mean, I'm the one who even took it to there because Corey meant like in America, right? Or in schools in America and shit. And like he just meant like how hard are they taking it on the playground or whatever. And then I was like, well, you know, in Africa, they chop their arms off and put them in potions.
I didn't mean how hard were they taking it on the playground. What I thought literally was like, I've never seen like any type of woke group, you know, like.
Trae just mentioned one. What's it called? The Same
Under
Sun?
the Same Sun.
They can't be under the same sun.
They need a different sun.
That is true.
Hey guys, while I was taking a shit, I was scrolling through the news. Have y'all heard about the Pope?
Yeah.
He said the Italian word for
he said in a private meeting, I'm quoting, by the way.
Yes, quote it.
There's too much faggotness in seminaries.
But he said that in Italian. Yeah, in the Italian word.
There's too much of faggotness in seminaries.
No, but the Italian word for faggotness is like, what was it, like frocchigini or something like that? Is that not in the
I think it was
reading?
fettuccine Alfredo.
How they say it in The Sopranos? Goddamn
the word is not right in front of you because
I'm just reading the picture.
Mark threaded this earlier, and the word was in the thing.
Well, I'm not looking at that.
Like we were setting him up for a bit, and then he thought we were just feeding him more. He was like, "God damn, I already nailed it. Why are you making me do another one?"
Frocchigini, or FROCIAGGINE.
Okay.
Fracciagine.
That's what Andy drinks when she goes to coffee companies.
Yeah. It's also funny that I'm just repeatedly saying, you know, Italian
you're quoting. It's the Pope that said it. Which, by the way, like this, it's insane because this is like the most woke Pope we've ever had in the history of the world.
Well, he's the Pope.
Yeah, right.
But it's also like, I don't know. It could be a lost in translation sort of thing a little bit, where it's like, that is the closest.
I'm sure he was just hitting.
That is the closest translation into English, but in Italian, that word doesn't have the same type of impact or whatever as the word in English does in English.
The article said the word was crass. It didn't say it was a slur.
Right.
And then it said, though, it translates as this slur. So maybe it is a slur.
Right. Maybe it's like saying there, I don't know, fruitiness or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's in terms of hardcoreness.
To me, it sounds like
that's not our stance either, everyone, that it's okay for the Pope to be like, there's too much fruitiness among the priests.
No, of course not. But it is funny. It is almost like that's such the conservative that pretends they're okay with gay people type thing where it's like, oh, I don't mind there being gay priests, but like, let's keep the gayness to a, you know, like tone it down a little bit. Like, don't be so out loud with it.
Fucking are under 12.
Exactly, dude. I was on a podcast once, and this guy who was like a lapsed Catholic was talking about how he was like, I'm a lapsed Catholic, but you know, I had these priests when I was a kid, and they were great, you know. And he said what happened to them. There was two priests who ended up being gay together. Two adult priests who were in love with each other. And when that came out, they got fucking excommunicated and barred and shipped off, whatever. And when he said that, I was like, damn, they should have just fucked y'all.
Right.
He was like, what? He was like, what? I was like, well, you know, if they just fucked y'all instead, then they would have been fine, clearly. But since they were in love with each other as consenting adults, then they got shipped all the way the fuck out. No, it's like, I don't think he got it at first. And then he was like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. That's pretty much what he said. But yeah, I was trying to hit, and then no one laughed.
is
To be
that
fair,
not-
no one really laughed just now either when I said it. So I guess maybe it's
I
not that
did.
funny.
I knew where it was going.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Me too. If you said it first, but like if you're a lapsed Catholic, how is that not like on your radar of here comes this? You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
I don't know. I mean, his whole point was like, ain't it fucked up that they did that to them? But I guess
Yeah,
he hadn't thought
but-
about that side of it or that angle or
Was
whatever.
he dumb? Sometimes people are dumb.
yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember. I haven't seen the dude since. This was years
Trae's
ago.
like, and he's with me right now.
Right now. Yeah, behind the refrigerator.
Oh,
Corey.
so
Corey, slide
Corey,
to your right.
go ahead.
Oh.
Okay, now slide to your left.
There's like half a poster.
Take it back now, Cho. What?
There's like half a poster of you.
Oh, it's
Is it
it's
the
a
angle?
fat
What is
head.
happening where I can see? It's the angle. Now I can see the whole thing.
It's
All
the,
right, never mind.
It's the angle,
cool.
yeah.
Drew,
Our
Cho, does
friends
he
at
sound
Fathead
wild
sent
to
it
you?
me. Drew, yeah, he does sound wild.
You haven't sounded wild the whole time, but right now you sound wild. It's like staticky, like coming through a drive-through window or something.
Yeah, that's a fathead that our good friends at Fathead sent me. They also sent me a big old head of Trae, and Amber has put it up somewhere. And she texted me the other day, not the other day, a couple months ago. She's like, "Hey, I can throw this big head of Trae away, right?" And I was like, "What the fuck are you doing in my office in the first place?" And like, "No, you can't throw that away." She's like, "Well, I gotta put it somewhere different." So
yeah,
used to be right there.
Don't hit. Listen, I kind of hate Drew's going to miss this. Okay, maybe he's coming back. Here we go. I was thinking lately because I was reading the Wikipedia page of one Rod Serling, who created the original Twilight Zone. I realized I didn't know much about him because I was watching Jordan Peele's reboot of the Twilight Zone because I love shit like that. I'm not going to lie. Found it to be hit or miss at best, mostly miss, but what are you going to do? Everybody's got some misses. That made me realize, I was like, man, Rod Serling, I don't really know anything about him. I'm going to look him up and see what's going on. Because I knew that like back then,
he was the shit.
I knew he was writing like there's a million of those old Twilight Zones episodes. And I had heard that like he would go sit at the same diner every morning, smoke a whole pack of cigarettes and drink like a pot of coffee at this diner and bang out what would become a classic episode of science fiction television or whatever. And I had heard that. So I looked him up, and it's like, first of all, I did not know that he was into World War II, and not just like in the war, but he got put into a squad which got termed the Death Squad because of how many of them died. Like they had a horrible. He was in like a parachute infantry group or something like that, and they had a horrible, survival rate, but he lived through it. Like he saw some serious shit, right?
Yeah.
Which I didn't know. Then he comes back, GI Bill, goes to college and starts working in radio, right? And while he was working in radio, he started writing scripts to submit to like, back then radio program. They ran all kinds of scripted programs. And shit on the radio,
the Colgate Hour, Bob Hope's thing, and
all that, but like dramas, play, like shows, like dramatic shows, which only aired on the
that's what I'm
radio.
talking about, dude. You can
back then.
Not to give him a free plug, but I will. Though there's a channel on Sirius that's just that. The old school, and I listen to that shit all the time because I do audio dramas over at bonuscorey.com, by the way. But like there's some real good shit, and some of them, obviously turned into TV shows.
So he started submitting spec scripts for that to like contests and open calls and stuff. And he got a couple bought that got produced. He made a little bit of money, but he submitted a whole bunch of them that didn't get made either. And all this. And then he finally he got a couple more made, and he submitted an idea for a weekly radio show. And he like pitched a radio show, and that got picked up and produced, called Adventure Express. And then along the way, he wrote all the scripts for that. He wrote the scripts for other popular radio programs like Our America and Builders of Destiny and whatnot. And then he moved from radio to television and up writing. All I want to say is this.
He's a prolific, badass American fucking hero.
Yes, but also specifically, people today in the arts and Hollywood and show business and comedy. Now, he wasn't in comedy, but still, we collectively
don't hit that hard,
jerk ourselves off
Yeah.
all the time for how hard we work and what our output is and how prolific we are and that type of shit. And it's like, it just ain't nothing compared to.
And we ain't in war.
Right. And it's like, and it's up. Me and you were talking on POA last week.
Putting on Airs. That's our show. It comes out every Friday. You can watch it at watchpoa.com or get it wherever you get your podcast.
Drew is gone, by the way. He had technical difficulties, y'all, and he said to tell y'all that he's gay. That's what he said to tell you. So he's gay, and
or as the Pope would say,
Frotchik Genie. I've already forgotten, but anyway, he'll be. He will not be back. Anyway, we were talking on POA last week about how like back in the day, them dudes like you couldn't just be just a hitting actor, being good at acting and other things. You had to be like a 5-tool hitter, like you should gotta be able to sing, dance, all this stuff, like
Mel Brooks.
And it's like. It's that way with writing too. It's like Rod Serling was writing like, I don't know, a script every 2 days or something. And also, by the way, they were all completely fucking different too. For the record. Like they were all unrelated, like a start finish completely different story. He's writing like 3 of them a week or something like that for 25 goddamn years. Like, it's insane.
Well, I'll give you a preview.
No one today, nobody does that. Like Stephen King does that in the book world.
In book world,
He's of a previous generation too. But like Brandon Sanderson is another author who is extremely prolific, and it's wild. But in terms of like scripts and that type of shit, like that just don't happen no more.
I could be wrong.
Like, people need to keep it in perspective sometimes when we start fucking feeling ourselves on how hard we're all working and shit like that. It's like, dude, it ain't like it used to be.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Now, homie from Yellowstone, he kind of be doing that, but
Taylor Sheridan. But he's got like an empire, right?
He does.
He shepherds his grand empire, but he has tons of writers under him who are doing the legwork and shit.
Yeah, but like the big thing around like why everybody talked about how like Yellowstone started to fall off and all these new projects he was doing didn't live up to the standard. A big part of that narrative was a lot of the people that worked around him was like, that's because the buck stops with him and he still has to have complete control over final, whatever. And he spread himself too thin. I was only bringing it up to like prove like this is the exception that proves the rule. There's not many people like that. And I could be wrong, but over in England, there's one dude that kind of comes to mind. And frankly, I from what I hear from a lot of people, not a very good dude. This is reckless speculation. Russell T. Davies.
Okay.
T. Davies wrote every episode of Doctor Who. It was like he wrote it by himself, and he was also doing all this other shit.
But in England, they do still have the Rod Serling model. It's way more common in England still
but they do 6 episodes.
1 or maybe 2 people to write the whole thing. They don't have writers' rooms. Still, like Julian Fellows, when he writes a show, he writes every word of every episode, and that's just how they roll. But like you just said, in England, typically each season of a show might have 3 episodes, 3 to 6, and they might only do 1 or 2 seasons, and that's it. Like they don't do it like we do over here. So even that's not really a true comparison.
Yeah, on Rod Serling, I'll kind of give a preview of something that I definitely want to cover on Putting on Airs. But like with those dudes, like back in these studio system days, like when obviously there's still studios now, but things work a lot differently. Like most actors now, like you'll hear of someone signing a 3-picture deal, sure, but a lot of times it's just like, hey, I'm an independent contractor. I'll go do like George Clooney is just like, I'll do one for you and one for that. I don't give a fuck. I do whatever I want. But back then, like not only were actors signed to like MGM and Warner Brothers and all that stuff, they also would have just like, hey, these are our writers, and it doesn't matter what the script is. So like you would have a guy like Herman Mankiewicz and his brother, and like. They were fucking writing 30-something scripts a year, and it was like they just got told what to do. They were just like, hey, we want a war picture. Okay, boom. Hey, we want to, and they're having to do like, like you said, man, I really bust my ass. I've got a lot of fucking, irons in the fire at all times, but I hear shit like that, and I'm like, you talk about built fucking different. Like built fuck and by the way, a lot of these they churned out wasn't shit. They were classics.
On that note, just to put it in some further perspective, he started submitting scripts and stuff in 1949. 6 years later, in 1955, so 6 years of being a freelance screenwriter, just submitting scripts. Hey, make this if you want, don't if you don't.
Not getting paid.
6 years, unless somebody bought it to make it.
Yeah, but I'm saying writing on spec. We're not even used to that.
6 years later, after 6 years of doing that in 1955, the Kraft Television Theater televised a program based on his 72nd script. So in 6 years, he had 72 scripts sold and produced to either radio or television in 6 years. Imagine how many didn't go.
Right.
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 So how many did he write in a 6-year time frame? That's nuts. But anyway, that particular one, the 72nd one that got produced for that show was called Patterns. It was an episode called Patterns. And that was the one that like put him on the map and changed his life. People saw it as like a revolutionary episode of TV. Like it leveled up what the medium of television was capable of in a lot of people's eyes. And then that led to him going on from there and hitting harder and eventually developing the Twilight Zone. And
let me tell you something about the Twilight Zone. And this is another thing that I've sort of been bringing up on POA about because we talk over on POA, we do talk a lot about the golden era of Hollywood, not so much this era of television. However, you know, I've mentioned that like the golden era of Hollywood's one of my favorite things, not only to talk about, but like to watch. I love watching that stuff. And I do believe in a great many of them, you need the proper context to enjoy the film. You know, like there's some films that if you just showed it to someone and they didn't know, you don't understand, you couldn't do this back, that you wouldn't like it. But there's certain films and television shows that, in my opinion, transcend that and hold up so much that you can just show somebody whatever. Like Singing in the Rain, I consider one of those. Like it's an old fucking movie, but show someone and they don't need any context. Bro, I just started, and I caught several episodes of The Twilight Zone when I was a kid because it was on syndication. It was all over Nick at Night or whatever. So like I was familiar with it. But as an adult, now with someone who's like been in the biz, knows how hard it is to write shit, I watch things with a different eye, obviously. So I like to revisit some of this stuff. I'm watching the first season of Twilight Zone right now. Bro, not only does it hold up, like it is such banging good shit. And that is crazy for sci-fi in that, like, you know, it, because that makes it different. That makes it harder to hold up. Like, and that's why 2001 A Space Odyssey still holding up is fucking insane. But like those Twilight episodes, the only thing old about them is black and white. And for my preference, that makes it hit harder. But like, dude, the suspense, the storylines, the acting is great. Martin Landau's in the goddamn second episode, and he plays a cowboy, and it's tremendous. And like, dude, I could not recommend enough. Like, if you're someone that's like, oh, I just don't like old TV, if you miss Black Mirror, just go watch The Twilight Zone. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, he also, like, you know, he was woke as hell for his time. He was, like, and he got a lot of shit for it. Like, even he
hit his wife with his left hand. You know what I mean?
He tried to be woker than they would allow him to. Like, he tried to have episodes about like lynchings and racism and stuff, but they wouldn't let him do that. And he'd have to like change it to, you know, and it couldn't be a lynching in the South. It was, you know, the killing of an unknown foreigner in a New England town or whatever, like, because that was less controversial there. But yeah, he had like episodes where
the second episode is about the stigmatization of addiction.
Yeah, and he also like did a lot of shit. He had a lot of like strong women. They weren't just like shrewish nagging wives and shit like that. Like he was he
had him play detectives,
very progressive feller. A lot of real, you know, anti-war, horrors of war type stuff. Which, you know,
because he'd been there.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. Rod Serling, he's just a G. Now he did die relatively young on account of smoking 4 packs a day or whatever, but. Like literally smoked 3 to 4 packs of cigarettes a day. And he died in 1975.
No, those dudes, man, like, again, those dudes are like
50 years old.
Those dudes are built so different. And like, when we talk about like the greatest actors of all time and stuff like that, you know, I feel like acting is one of those things that it just makes sense that every new generation of actors is better than the last generation of actors because you learn, you evolve. You know, it's like Roger Maris was the first person to run the 4-minute mile, but as soon as he did it, 4 other people did it. You know what I'm saying?
Is it Roger Maris?
Not Roger Maris. He was a baseball player.
Maris is the guy who hit 61 home runs.
Right? Yeah. Who was the runner? Who was
Bannister?
Roger Bannister.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Roger Maris was 61 home runs. Anyways, like like Daniel Day-Lewis learned from Marlon Brando, which is why he could be better than him. You know what I mean? And like, So
Yes.
whenever we talk about the greatest actors of all time, rarely are dudes from that golden era of Hollywood gonna get brought up because their style looks so much more theatery because film was relatively new and stuff. But I think that we got to start putting some asterisks and caveats by some of these motherfuckers because it's like, by the way, this movie that you're watching, he had just limped in from Korea. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
he fucking right before he shot this movie while he was on leave after 14 confirmed kills of German pilots. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
just badass motherfuckers.
The whole idea of like the summation of knowledge or the continuing building up of a foundation of knowledge or ability or whatever is something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Or not when I say lately, I mean over the past few years, because I used to like, and I still do. We do it on POA all the time. I do it on stage a lot. Love to make fun of how stupid everybody in the past was.
Yeah,
right?
It's a recurring theme.
Because they were, but they were, but on an individual level, they had the same kind of intellectual capacity that somebody today does. They just did not have the breadth of the foundation of knowledge
culture wasn't there
to them that we have now. You know what I mean? Like I remember we talked on POA once about like watching that show, The Last Kingdom, which is awesome. If you still haven't seen that,
I haven't.
It's great. I can't. I'm not understand why you haven't watched that because I know it'll hit for you because it's like an old timey. You know, it's about Middle Ages England.
The reason I haven't watched it,
the Vikings and shit. It's hard.
The reason I haven't watched it is because Amber Whisper watched it, and so I don't have to watch it by myself.
So Alfred the Great is in that show as a character, first like unified king of England or whatever, Alfred the Great. And I just really thought I was really impressed when I watched that show. I thought they did a very good job of illustrating how like he was a brilliant dude.
Yeah.
But he believed a lot of insanely stupid things from the perspective of a modern person because he didn't have the workings and writings of thousands of years of masters. This is pre-Renaissance. There hadn't been no Da Vinci or no, Isaac Newton or Albert Einstein or any of them motherfuckers.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like none of that had happened yet. So he's starting from a much, much, much lower base. And it's like the same shit is true with music and movies and acting stuff. I feel like I've said before,
if this same person was born today, they wouldn't be as dumb as you think they are.
Right. They had like the same, like I said, intellectual capacity. It's just that what's available to them is different. Like,
Albert Einstein would hit so much harder now.
Your average fifth grader today, not even third, fourth grader today in America knows so much more than like a standard peasant from 200 or 300 years ago or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's like even the ones that don't be smart.
Right.
Some of them peasants were smart. Some of these kids is dumb as fuck. You know what I mean? But but like that still holds true just because of the nature of how that whole dynamic works. And I think that's fascinating. But also it's like that with like art forms like film and shit too. Like you were saying, like I've said before, and you just kind of said the opposite. It ain't always like this. Like Casablanca, love it, great. Some of them, some old movies, it's like they do absolutely hold up. A lot of movies I've watched,
they don't.
I'm like, I sit there and watch it, and I'm like, I totally understand. Why this was completely mind blowing. In 1971, right? I get why people were like, bro, this shit. But with everything I've seen in the years since then, which I can't remove that context, no matter what I do, I have seen those things. It's just not as impressive to me. So it's like within the context of the time, I get why it was badass, but I'm sitting there not really enjoying it all that much. And that's how I feel about a lot of it's just like we talked before, like Lenny Bruce. I respect the shit out of Lenny Bruce. I'm very thankful and grateful for what he did for the form of stand-up comedy. But like, I've never laughed at a single thing Lenny Bruce has said, and I've listened to a lot of it.
Yeah,
so it's like it's that kind of thing.
I've laughed at some of his stuff, but I hear you. But like with me, like I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. But that's why. But I enjoy the context so much that I like absorb myself in the context, and like I enjoy watching a movie and forcing that context onto myself so that I could, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's also like, dude, sports, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how much like sport, just how
basketball players didn't hit as hard in the 70s.
Advanced athletes are today than they were 30, 40, 50 years ago. Like, because because people have learned more techniques and shit about nutrition
Golf.
and all this stuff, and they employ those techniques when a kid who shows talent is 8 years old, and then by the time they're 22, they're a monster, and it's like that. It's just the way things go, but it is wild to think about. I mean, we do continue to like advance in almost every single field while still on an individual level, be dumb. To be dumb. Yes, many of us, and sometimes get dumber. Seemingly.
It's like,
so, yeah.
We as creators, we as comics or whatever, comics specifically, you can look at some old comedian like Borscht Belt comedians and stuff, and if you watch them now, knowing how far advanced comedy has gone and how many the evolution of it from storytelling to the psychoanalytical humor and stuff like that, it's so easy to go, God damn, they were just dumb and horrible back then. But it's like, the reason we're good now is because they were doing that then. They were pushing it all forward. You know what I mean? There had to be a that to get better from. There had to be a that to improve upon. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about films and stuff like that. And I mean, obviously, like you could talk Citizen Kane forever, but like the reason that movie continued to be mind blowing is because he did things in that movie, him being Orson Welles, that it took most directors another 30 years to figure out how to do. But like, obviously, we know now if we see a shot through a window, we don't even blink. Right. You know what I mean? But if you absorb yourself in the context and watch enough some movies surrounding that and then watch it, it's like, this is such a mind-blowing fucking experience, But I do understand, like, dude, and there's some stinkers. There's some fucking stinkers that do not hold up. But but watching enough of those stinkers that don't hold up makes it that much better when you see a Charlie Chaplin movie that really knocks it out of the fucking park. You're like, oh, it could be done. You know what I mean?
Right.
Modern Times by Charlie Chaplin. That's a silent film that I think holds up and needs zero context. I think it's one of the greatest movies of all time. It's so good.
You ever seen Paths of Glory?
Is that him too?
No, it's Stanley Kubrick's first movie.
No, I haven't.
I believe that's right. I believe it's his first movie. And it stars Kirk Douglas, Michael Douglas's daddy, as a like army colonel or general, some kind of army officer who is put in charge of executing 3 deserters. And it's wild and heavy and goes hard, and it's in black and white. It's from like 1952 or something like that. And it's one of those, it's like I got shown that in college, and when it comes on, I was like, okay, here we go. But by the end of it, I was like, God damn, that was fire, And it's like them dudes, like Kubrick types,
Dude, they changed the fucking game.
I'm saying from the very first one, you could see like this guy's got something.
Hey,
Maniac though he was, but yeah.
Has this ever been done? Because has it ever been done that like if there was there's a TV series or a movie or something that like was set in an like, what if they had actually faked the moon landing? And like it shows like them getting ready for it, like Kubrick and all them. Like, is that been done?
I don't think
so. That would hit for me because I'm watching For All Mankind, and it's set in a world where the Russians won the space race, and it got me to thinking. I was like, it would really hit hard to see a movie that was based on what if Kubrick and them actually did fake the moon landing.
I like alternate universes. I've had an idea for an alternate universe thing recently, just literally the nugget of an idea, but that like there used to be a bunch of different kinds of early humans.
Yeah.
Homo sapiens.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Right. Yes. Other than some of those, lone survivors like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Homo sapiens are the only ones that made it. Famously, everybody knows about Neanderthals and stuff, but it wasn't just Neanderthals. There was a bunch of other ones, Homo erectus, and way more than.
And Homo sapiens killed all them motherfuckers.
That's unknown.
You're right.
Some people think that we fucked our way through them all.
Right.
Like, that we fucked them into us and then they died. Or we fucked and killed them all till they was gone. There's a lot of theories, but it's not known for sure.
It would make sense to why some people are the way they are now. Like they call it like a late gene.
You got to watch that though, because like where people take that shit immediately.
Yep. Eugenics and
racism. Why people do hit the hardest.
No, I was thinking about dumb white people for the record.
I know, but I'm just saying that's why you got to watch that train of thought. But my point is the idea of like take at least a couple of those Neanderthals, a couple of others, whatever, and like, had they not died out,
Right.
Like, if today there were still Homo sapiens and Homo erectus and Neanderthals and maybe one more, but modern day versions of them.
Right.
So it's like,
aliens.
What would the relationships look like? Like Homo sapiens, would white, black, Mexican, Asian, all those types of Homo sapiens get along because we all don't like Neanderthals?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I just think it'd be
that's interesting.
It's an interesting thought, but it's time for us to get out of here. So
is it? Don't hit. Well, to plug your shit, motherfucker.
Yeah, I'll be Drew, who's gone now, would have said this as well, but he'll be with me for a couple of shows in Virginia next week. It just worked out that he was going to be in Virginia doing his shows anyway, so he's doing my shows with me too. And then after that, I'm going to Florida, where I'm meeting up with the lovely Donnie Singstack to do a Florida show. So Virginia and Florida next week, and then after that, got some California shows, so that'll be fun, and then a bunch of other places coming up. So go to TraeCrowder.com, come see me. Love you. Bye.
Well, if you enjoyed any of the old Hollywood talk that we just did, we do that a lot over on our sister podcast, Putting on Airs. It is a very, very good time. Me and Trae talk about fancy stuff, and it is a nice escape from the political world and all that shit. Also, hey, bonuscorey.com. That is where you can find my extra stuff. And now that my wife has retired, I have a lot more time to do extra stuff, such as if you're already enjoying my Pastor Petey sermons every Sunday, they now come in video. But we also do essays, audio dramas, which I'm currently working on the next audio drama. It'll take me a minute, but I am actively working on it. So bonuscorey.com. And also, if I may, thank you all for listening to the WellRED Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you. God bless you. Good night and skew.
Bart.